Demond Wilson was a man whose presence never demanded attention, yet it always held it. For decades, his calm voice, steady expressions, and quiet strength became familiar to millions of households. When news of his passing finally settled in, it did not arrive with noise or spectacle. It arrived with silence, reflection, and a deep sense of loss. Now, as fans continue to process his absence, attention has turned to what comes next. In this video, we will talk about Demond Wilson's funeral details and then focus on the emotional tribute shared by his wife, Cicely Johnston, whose grief has touched everyone who hears her words. Demond Wilson passed away on January 30, 2026 at the age of 79. The news spread slowly, almost carefully, as if the world itself hesitated before accepting it. For many, he was not just a former television star. He was a familiar presence, someone who had been there during childhood, family dinners, and quiet evenings. That familiarity made the loss feel personal. As confirmation of his death became public, questions immediately followed. How would he be honored? Would there be a public funeral? Who would attend? And would the family allow the world inside this deeply private moment? Those questions were met with restraint, the same restraint that defined Wilson's life in his later years. Demond Wilson was born Grady Demond Wilson in Valdosta, Georgia, and raised in New York City. His life story stretched across many worlds: child performer, Broadway dancer, Vietnam War veteran, television icon, minister, husband, father. Each chapter carried its own weight, and all of them shaped how his final farewell would be handled. From an early age, Wilson lived in disciplined environments. Broadway at 4 years old, the Apollo Theater at 12, military service in Vietnam in his 20s. These experiences taught him control, humility, and responsibility long before fame arrived. Those traits later became visible in his most famous role as Lamont Sanford, the calm center of chaos on Sanford and Son. When that show debuted in 1972, it quickly became one of the most influential sitcoms of its time. Wilson's performance grounded the show. His restraint allowed comedy to breathe. Audiences trusted him. That trust never faded even after he stepped away from mainstream Hollywood. Behind the scenes, Wilson's career carried pressure, conflict, and sacrifice. He navigated fame during a time when black actors faced limited opportunities and intense scrutiny, yet he never leaned into controversy. He chose professionalism. That same choice defined how his family approached his passing. Following his death, the Wilson family made a deliberate decision to keep funeral arrangements private. No immediate public announcement was made, no press conference, no detailed statement. This was not an oversight, it was intentional. Those close to the family have explained that Demond Wilson would not have wanted his funeral to become a spectacle. In his later years, he avoided public attention and focused on faith, family, and ministry. Any farewell, the family believed, should reflect those values. As discussions about the funeral began behind closed doors, one voice carried particular weight: that of his wife, Cicely Johnston. Cicely Johnston married Demond Wilson in 1974 during the height of his television fame. From the outside, it may have seemed like a glamorous union. Inside, it was something very different. Cicely did not pursue fame. She did not build a public image around her husband's career. Instead, she chose a life centered on family and faith. Over more than 50 years of marriage, Cicely stood beside Wilson through every transition, through television success, through public pressure, through his decision to leave Hollywood and become a minister, through quiet years away from cameras, through illness. Those close to the couple described Cicely as Wilson's emotional anchor. When he walked away from acting, she supported the decision fully. When criticism came, she shielded him. When health challenges appeared, she stayed present without complaint. In the days following Wilson's death, Cicely Johnston remained out of public view. She did not give interviews. She did not issue statements. That silence spoke clearly. Grief was not something she was willing to perform. According to family sources, the first time Cicely spoke openly after her husband's passing was during a small, private gathering of family and close friends. It was not a formal event. It was a moment of shared mourning. When she began speaking, her voice reportedly trembled. She spoke about Demond not as an actor, but as a husband. She described a man who listened more than he spoke, a man who carried stress quietly, a man who believed deeply in discipline but never ruled his home with anger. She spoke about laughter behind closed doors, about prayer, about routine, about the simple moments that never make headlines. As she continued, emotion overtook her. According to those present, Cicely broke down in tears and had to pause. The room fell silent. There was no attempt to rush her. No one expected her to continue. But after a moment, she gathered herself and went on. She said that Demond Wilson lived exactly the life he believed God called him to live, that he never regretted walking away from fame, that his greatest pride was not his career but his family, and that while the world knew Lamont Sanford, she knew the man who prayed beside her every morning. That emotional moment shaped the tone of the funeral announcement that followed. The family confirmed that Demond Wilson's funeral would be private and faith-centered. Attendance would be limited to close family, longtime friends, select colleagues, and members of the faith community who had shared Wilson's ministry work over the years. There would be no public guest list. This decision disappointed some fans, but it aligned perfectly with Wilson's life choices. He did not live for attention, he would not be buried with it. Those who are expected to attend include immediate family members, close relatives, and individuals who walked alongside Wilson during his years as a minister. Some former co-stars may be present if invited, but no names have been confirmed. The family has made it clear that attendance is not about status, but about connection. As for burial, the family has chosen not to disclose details publicly. No burial location has been announced. This was a deliberate choice led primarily by Cicely Johnston. Those close to her say she wanted the burial to remain a sacred family moment, not a place of public curiosity. There has been speculation about whether Wilson will be laid to rest in California, where he spent his final years, or elsewhere. At this time, there is no confirmation. The family has asked for privacy, and that request has been respected. In the midst of planning, Cicely Johnston has remained focused on honoring her husband's values. She has reportedly been involved in selecting scripture readings, music, and prayers for the service. Hymns will replace applause. Reflection will replace performance. In quiet conversations, Cicely has shared that the hardest part is not the public attention but the silence at home, the absence of routine, the chair that no longer fills, the voice she no longer hears in the morning. These are the moments that bring tears without warning. Yet even in grief, Cicely has shown strength, not the loud kind, the steady kind. The same steady strength Demond Wilson portrayed on screen and lived by in real life. At this time, the funeral announcement remains unchanged. A private service will be held. Burial details will remain undisclosed. There is no confirmed public memorial. If the family chooses to share further updates, they will do so when ready. Until then, the most powerful tribute has already been given. A wife speaking through tears, a family choosing dignity over spectacle, and a farewell shaped not by fame but by love. Demond Wilson's final chapter is being written quietly, just as he lived his later years. And at the center of that chapter stands Cicely Johnston, saying goodbye not to a television icon but to the man she loved for more than half a century.